and we await the turnout of events as the deadline for the implementation of the ban on open grazing by the Southern Governors Forum in the region lapsed today. While Governor Rotimi Akeredolu of Ondo State beat the deadline to sign the anti-grazing bill into law in his states, the Association of Cattle Breeders, known as Miyetti Allah Kotore, said it will be unrealistic to enforce the law because there are no alternatives. The association demands extension and provision of alternatives. Yes, this is a new side to it. After the Lagos meeting, after the Asaba declaration, and the deadline was given in their last Lagos meeting, and the deadline as at now was September 1st, and it was Governor Rotimi Akeredolu that actually signed that bill into law. There are some states that they still have the proposal stocked in the House of Assembly, and there are some that don't even propose that bill sent, according to our investigation today, to the State House of Assembly. What we're looking at now is, out of the resolution made in the last Southern Governorship Governors meeting, it's only Governor Rotimi Akeredolu that's made good.
No, it's
the
not.
Promise.
It's not the only one. Some states have already signed it into.
Before now.
Yes, yes.
Before now, we
the
know.
The governor, maybe because of elections and other things, he's been busy, so he's doing it a bit late. But it's on record that even Governor Wike has signed the bill into law, and codified me as well. So a number of governors have already signed the bill. So we await full implementation, since the deadline they gave was September. Osun has signed, Oyo has signed, Ekiti has signed, and some of the South states too have already signed. So we await a full enforcement, full implementation of the law. The law is clear. There's a faction of Miyetti Allah. Unfortunately, because our people like sensationalism, when they are referring to this, they will say Miyetti Allah. Whereas this Kautahore is not the mainstream Miyetti Allah. It's by no means the mainstream Miyetti Allah. It is just a faction of Miyetti Allah, the faction that makes the loudest noise. That's why people, every time they say Miyetti, whereas it's just a faction that we are dealing with here, and it's not the mainstream faction. The bigger, the mainstream group of Miyetti Allah, they have not said that this thing, that they don't believe in this thing, or that it cannot work. And when they are saying, when they are asking for alternatives is lawful grazing, not open grazing. If you want, and it's stipulated in the law, if you are doing livestock business, you apply to the livestock committee of the state, you will be permitted to lease a piece of land from someone who is willing to give out his land on lease for the purpose of grazing. Once it's given to you, you are required to fence it. You fence the area, and they will also monitor you to ensure that not everyone can gain access into that place. Then after that, you will be registered for the livestock business that you are doing, and your animal will be tagged. Your registration number will be tagged on the animal, so that they will know that yes, this is your animal, your livestock. If your animal strays around town without identification, straying like these ones, then they are subject to confiscation and public auction at a day to be announced. So there are consequences for not obeying this. And if you observe, a lot of some of these states have already even begun enforcing the law. I know, for example, that Ondo had been enforcing it. I know that Osun had begun enforcing it. So, to say that there are no alternatives is dishonest. The alternative is to do ranching. Do ranching.
The governor of Imo State,
Yes.
Hope Uzodinma, came out last week to declare that he doesn't have any law in that state called anti-grazing law. That what he has done is that between the herders and the farmers to meet a mutual understanding on how things will work out, that he is against the anti-grazing law, making the first governor.
And that's his choice. It's just one governor. I don't have anything to say to his choice. It's his choice. A man is bound by the choices that he makes, you know. So if that is how he wants it, is the governor of the state until a fresh election, fine. And he clearly thinks that his approach is the best. Time will tell whether that approach is the best, but we all know, except those of us who are dishonest, that across the world, livestock breeding has changed.
Completely.
People don't roam with their cattle freely anymore. And for those who are trying to make this look like a North and South affair, because we try to ethnicize every issue, because we are dishonest people. We had the governor of Katsina State.
Yeah.
Yes.
That is the son of a milk seller. His mom was a Fura de Nono seller.
The story there is
We've
that
also
yesterday
had-
he has even signed.
Ayo. We've also had the Governor Ganduje.
Yes. Who is
He was
a
not
thoroughbred-
only a Fulani man,
Yeah.
he was a header, moving cattle from point to point. And he's
Can't be
saying,
more
look,
Catholic than the Pope.
he's saying, look, let us have cattle ranching. And he has taken steps to make life really bearable for these herders by putting them in Danso Shire Forest, where they have all that they need. Even their wives will not need to be roaming around, whereby some people who are greedy, where they see women, they get really greedy, will be looking at their wives. Their wives will be localized where they are. So you can't make eyes at their wives, because their wives are there with them doing their own business. So who would not prefer that to joining at the risk of cattle rustling, at the risk of being attacked by wild animals, going down south? Who would not prefer to stay in a place? Go and see even the cattle. I did the story, I went there, even the cattle. You saw those that they were quite big, you know, because they don't have to labor. Even the cattle will pray for you. They will pray for you. They say, "Ah, you are
They have to
treating us
walk
well."
less.
Yes.
They have to roam around.
You know?
You can, I don't know the point that Governor Hope Uzodinma wants to, but he's saying that there's no such law.
You know,
Point blank.
coming to what I want to call the Imo formula, I think the governor is just an individual. If the members of the House of Assembly think otherwise, they can band together and present such a law from the legislative point of view, present such, and if they pass it, and if the governor refuses to sign, they know what to do.
They will not do that.
So what I see there is that the governor is just an individual. His citizens, have they agreed with him that, well, we agree with you that this is all right, let us go ahead with it. We don't need the law. Because for the law to be there, you need the legislators to agree with their electorate, even if the governor does not agree. And the Imo formula, just as I said, I don't know. He is there on the ground. Perhaps there are some things that you can see that we cannot see.
Yes.
But I think that is the problem that we always have. We want to play politics with everything. The business of cattle, in fact, the business generally has changed. It's just like, let's take our business for instance. I've been a newspaper journalist of my life. The newspaper now say that they will still want to do the business the way it was done in the 70s, 80s, and early 90s. It can't work.
Yes.
So, for him to say that he doesn't believe in it, well, we wish him all the best, and
that's all we can say.
Still in the Jews,
it's his choice. It may work.
Well,
we may think it won't work, and it may work.
Then we'll come back and say, "Oh, we were wrong."
Let Governor Hope Uzodinma take the decisions that he thinks
is right,
the best for his state. He don't have any issue with that, you know. But some states have already taken the right step to pass this into law. So, and we are waiting to see how it gets implemented.
How do we now reconcile this anti-grazing law position to the position of the presidency?
The president thinks that those grazing routes are still there. That's what he thinks. But a lot of those grazing routes do not exist anymore. They built houses on them.
Oh, are you going to put down the houses?
They built houses on them. You know, when you go to some of these states in the north, if you had not been to a state for a long time and you go, the changes you see, even places where you never expected that they will build houses on. Places where they used to have recreation, where they used to have polo, play polo and all that, they've allocated land to people and they are building houses on them indiscriminately. So the grazing routes, those grazing routes are gone. And then the power over land is vested in the governors of a state. They will take him to court. It's as simple as that.
Let's take this call. Aminu is calling us from Yola.
Yeah. Mr. Jide and your team, good evening.
Good evening, Aminu.
Yeah, I want to make a small contribution on this grazing thing.
Okay, go ahead, please.
Yeah, well, first and foremost, I'm a nomad, a header myself, like the Ganduje you mentioned.
Yeah.
And, you know, for everything in life, there are processes. And ranching and whatever, it's a process. You have to first and foremost, these are animals like me and you, they eat and drink. You must first provide water, provide pasture, and you cannot provide water and pasture in the absence of land. You must have a land before you develop water and pasture. These are animals. So we should all understand that this is businesses that need support from government. It shouldn't be politicized. It shouldn't be ethnicized. Whatever name you call it, like any other business. The Nigerian header is the 80% of those in southern Nigeria are not there to head. They are there to do business. These are animals that are taken there for self. We are losing half of Nigerian nomadics who are moving to Central Africa now. The movement from Benue to Taraba to Cameroon to Central Africa. We are losing half of it. Half of our meat is coming from Cameroon, Chad, and Niger.
Yes.
So why don't we all agree that these
Thank
are
you,
businesses?
Aminu.
Thank you.
Thank you, Aminu. Before we went on break, and if we're talking about the federal government and the position of the federal government and this anti-grazing law stance of the southern governors, how is it going to work out ultimately? How do you see it working out?
What I know is that the president made a pronouncement that will be challenged. They've already sent word out that they will challenge what he said in court. You know, they will challenge because the Land Use Act vests power over land in the states. So you can't simply direct that, okay, go and be using this. No. They are going to say no. So that the president made the statement does not mean that, oh, it has to happen.
It's
no.
not a law.
Even when he came up with the executive order, that in my view, he made no mistake by coming up with it, the governor still challenged it, went to him and told him that he should not gazette it, if not for the workers that went on strike, judiciary workers, we will not have autonomy for the judiciary and the legislative, the legislature. So it's not as if because the president said it, then it must happen. The governors will challenge that. They've already said that they will challenge it, and I know that it won't even be one case alone. And such a case will get right up to the Supreme Court. A lot of them have even said, no, we have no land to give. So if they say they have no land to give, what are you going to do? Are you going to put guns to their necks? So this is the thing. And in the states, the governors too are interested in ranching. If you see the law that Akeredolu just came up with, there is provision for ranching. There is enough land for ranching. And wherever there is, then you make arrangement for provision of water. Let me tell you something. The elites, our elites, who are the biggest problem of our country, do you know that a lot of them are already have ranches in Nasarawa and other places? Yes. Ranches. Go to Mambila. Go to Mambila and see how they are practicing ranching and see how big their cattle is in Mambila. Many of these senators that you see, they have ranches in Nasarawa. You know, Nasarawa is so big. They have ranches there. They are doing it. So why must people think that it cannot work? But you will see some of them, they will be the ones to make noise because they want to they want to divide us on virtually every issue.
You can have your final second this?
Yeah. As we have been saying, this is not the first time we are talking about this. Cattle breeding is a personal business. Let's look at it this way. In those days, people raised chicken and allowed them to wander about the streets and all that. But now, people don't do that again. You buy your feed, you house it and all that. So why can't we do that for cattle? Why are we still bent on insisting that the cattle must be given free range to enter into people's farm and do all that? If we eat meat, are we not going to eat food? Is meat going to satisfy the hunger pang that we have? And there are even people who don't even eat meat. So, for me, the president should just forget about this issue of grazing route and all. That is anachronistic. It's completely out of order. Nobody talks about such things again. This is the 21st century.
People have even suggested that what are we doing with Sambisa and the rest of them?
Exactly.
That we can't create grazing
reserve. We can't create grazing reserve.
You go to the north, you see big local governments that are bigger than some states. Damboa local government
there are forests and
is bigger than 4 out of 5 states in the east. It's bigger than Lagos State. Just one local government.
There's
enough land.